So, um, imagine getting fired, right, and stripped of your retirement benefits for skipping a shift you weren't even scheduled for.
Yeah, that sounds like an absolute nightmare.
It is, but now imagine the person firing you is the exact same boss who, explicitly changed your schedule the day before.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a whole other level of frustrating.
Yeah. So welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to explore this terrifying collision between official institutional paperwork and, well, a real-time trail of digital receipts.
It really is a masterclass in what happens when a massive bureaucracy decides you are a problem.
Exactly. And the only thing standing between you and total professional ruin is, like, the camera roll on your smartphone.
It is a scenario that feels almost dystopian, honestly, but we have the actual documentation sitting right in front of us today.
Yeah, let's talk about our sources for this because they are incredibly specific.
Right, so we are looking at a memoir-style article from the Maine Mirror. It's written by Ryan Michaels, and it's titled Controversy at Pease National Guard.
But, and this is the crucial part, we aren't just relying on Michaels' memory of the events,
No, not at all. We have the official Air National Guard disciplinary memorandums side by side with actual screenshots of text messages.
Text messages between Michaels and his commanding officer.
Exactly.
So if you've ever felt gaslit by a massive institution or even just dealt with a manager who remembers a critical conversation very differently than you do, you are really going to want to hear them.
For sure, because we are basically tracing a single timeline through two entirely different lenses here.
Right. On one side, you have the pristine official military record, and on the other, you have the messy, minute-by-minute reality of a text thread.
And to really understand the implications here, you have to look past the surface of the paperwork. You have to examine how institutions sort of manufacture their own reality.
Yeah, we like to believe that when a structured entity writes something on official letterhead, it represents an objective fact, especially the military, right?
Exactly. But as we're about to see, these administrative systems are often just completely blind to the human interactions happening right beneath the surface.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the institutional reality.
The official narrative.
Right, the official narrative as it was set in stone on October 26, 2023.
So, Major Emily A. Hanson, she's the commander of the 157th Maintenance Operations Flight at Pease National Guard Base in New Hampshire.
And she issues a formal memorandum.
Right, and this is not a slap on the wrist. She recommends that Staff Sergeant Ryan Michaels be involuntarily removed from his active guard reserve position.
His AGR position, yeah. And we really need to dig into the mechanics of what this memo actually triggers because the severity is just staggering.
It really is. The document charges Michaels with multiple violations of Article 86 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Which, in civilian terms, is basically AWOL, right? Absent without leave.
Exactly. And the specific claim is that on Tuesday, October 17th, Michaels was absent from his place of duty between 0900 and 1100 hours without authority.
But the memo doesn't just stop there. It includes this very specific clause that becomes kind of the linchpin of this entire story.
Yeah, the commander writes that Michaels claimed childcare issues as the reason for his absence.
Right, but that he, quote, failed to mention previously these issues to his command.
Which paints a very specific clinical portrait of a soldier just going rogue.
Totally. I mean, the paperwork tells a story of someone blowing off his duty, vanishing without a trace, and then frantically making up an excuse about his kids after he gets caught.
Right. If you only look at the official ledger, it's basically an open and shut case of insubordination.
If you're listening to this on your commute, think about your civilian job. Being a no-show might get you fired, and, that's devastating enough.
Oh, absolutely.
But an Article 86 violation in the military is a completely different beast. It attacks your core integrity.
Yeah, if this memo goes unchallenged, Michaels isn't just looking for a new job. He's facing an under honorable conditions discharge. A general discharge.
Which strips away stability, alters your retirement path, impacts health care benefits. I mean, it places a permanent asterisk next to your name for the rest of your life.
Bureaucracy is essentially a slow-moving algorithm. Once that AWOL trigger gets pulled in the administrative system, the gears just start turning automatically.
Right, it generates that discharge without asking for context.
Exactly. It just processes the data point. But that bureaucratic algorithm is about to run headfirst into a massive problem.
The digital paper trail.
Yes, the receipts.
Because we have the text messages from the exact days leading up to this disciplinary memo. And they force us to completely reevaluate everything that official memo claims.
So let's not even start on October 17th, the day of the alleged AWOL incident. Let's start the day prior.
October 16th.
Right. This is where the friction between his chaotic personal life and rigid military expectations really escalates.
We have a specific timestamp here. It's 3:07 p.m. on the 16th. Michael's texts Major Hanson.
And he states he has to take his son to a counseling appointment in Biddeford tomorrow, and then back to school in Berwick.
So he asks to report for duty at 11:00 a.m. instead of his normal time.
Which immediately initiates a real-time negotiation. Hanson replies, asking if he can come in between 1300 and 1500 instead.
Essentially 1:00 p.m. to 3:00 p.m. so he doesn't overlap with anyone's lunch break.
Right. But Michaels pushes back, and he does it by opening up about a terrifying family crisis.
He pleads for the 11:00 a.m. slot. He explains that he needs to pick his kids up right at 3:30 p.m., the exact moment school ends.
And, you know, the context he provides is incredibly vulnerable to share with a commanding officer.
It really is. He reveals that the children's mother is under active Child Protective Services investigation.
Yeah, following 3 professional reports of physical abuse.
He explicitly texts that his kids are going through a lot, and the less time they spend waiting after school, the safer he feels.
That is just so hefty.
It is. I mean, that is a father desperately trying to manage a worst-case scenario at home while still trying to fulfill his military duties.
Right, he isn't trying to avoid work. He's just trying to keep his kids safe.
And Hanson takes that information in, she processes it, and she makes a command decision right there, the text thread.
She directs him to report from 12:30 to 14:30 for Tuesday, and then sets his schedule at 0900 to 1100 for the rest of the week.
What's fascinating here is the sheer mechanics of how this text exchange utterly dismantles the official memorandum drafted 9 days later.
Oh, completely. Think back to the language of that disciplinary memo.
Right. It explicitly claimed Michaels failed to mention previously his childcare issues. It framed it as an afterthought.
Yet, the unalterable digital record shows a proactive, emotionally fraught negotiation about child abuse and CPS investigations.
The exact afternoon before the alleged incident.
Exactly. The child care crisis wasn't a sudden excuse. It was the central, documented reason his commander gave him a revised reporting time.
So this childcare negotiation proves Michaels was fully communicating his reality. The timestamps completely contradict the narrative of a rogue soldier.
But the collision between his personal life and the military's expectations is honestly just getting started.
Let's move to the next morning, October 17th.
The actual day he is supposedly AWOL from 0900 to 1100.
The personal crisis of the 16th is immediately compounded by a severe medical crisis on the 17th.
Right. On the morning of the 17th, Michael sends Major Hanson a screenshot of a letter from a doctor.
And we have to be clear about the weight of this document. This isn't just a quick note from a local urgent care.
No, it is a formal letter from Dr. Michael J. Young, a neurologist at Massachusetts General Hospital.
A major institution. The letter states that the neurologist concurs with a multidisciplinary team that Michael should not return to work yet.
Yeah, a team including psychiatry and occupational therapy, and this is all stemming from a traumatic brain injury he sustained earlier in the year.
You have a team of top-tier specialists explicitly stating, in writing, that a soldier with a traumatic brain injury is not medically fit to be at his post.
Right.
And as I was reading this part of the source material, I couldn't help but push back a little on Michaels' actions here.
How do you mean?
Well, if you're listening to this and you work at a corporate office, you're probably thinking, if doctors at Mass General tell me my brain is injured and I need to stay home, I'm logging off Slack.
Yeah, you said an out-of-office reply and go to bed.
Exactly. Why is Michaels even texting his boss to ask what he should do? Why the back and forth? You have the ultimate medical trump card.
It's a very natural civilian reaction, but it completely ignores the mechanism of military command.
Right. The armed forces don't use Slack.
And you don't get to just log off. In the military, a medical recommendation still has to intersect with a lawful order.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, Michaels doesn't independently decide to stay home because doing so without command authorization is the literal definition of going AWOL. He has to operate within the system.
So he sends the note, and his text specifically asks, should I still show up to work anyway?
And he follows it up with, I'll do whatever is asked of me, to be clear.
He is entirely deferring to her authority.
Yes. And Hanson's response is rigid. She just overrides the multidisciplinary medical team's recommendation.
She texts back, received, please still come in today.
Which is a profound display of institutional authority over individual medical reality.
But it is a direct order.
Right. And Michael simply responds, "Yes, ma'am." He puts on his uniform and begins commuting to the base.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. While he is physically en route to Pease Air National Guard Base, the institution suddenly changes its mind.
Yeah, at 11:44 a.m., Hanson texts him a massive pivot.
She writes, "Please go to the shipyard clinic at 12:30 instead of coming to Pease."
And she outlines a very specific administrative reason for this mid-commute reroute.
She wants him to see the Air Force provider at the shipyard, Major Tidd.
Right, to get written proof regarding a completely separate medical issue, his high blood pressure.
Hanson notes that Michael's primary care provider warned he was close to organ failure due to the blood pressure.
She tells him his other doctor's notes are, quote, too vague, and that his convalescent leave was officially denied by the medical group.
So she essentially says, I need a military doctor to put your organ failure risk in writing today.
Exactly.
Wait, let's just look at the sheer administrative alternate reality happening here.
It's wild.
Michaels gets this reroute text at 11:44 a.m. He's ordered to go to a clinic at 12:30.
And he immediately complies, asks who he needs to look for, and changes his destination.
Now hold that timeline up against the disciplinary memo.
The official memo claims he was AWOL, absent from his place of duty, from 0900 to 1100 that morning.
The contradiction is absolute. How does an 11:44 a.m. reroute square with an allegation that he was missing from 0900 to 1100?
It doesn't.
Especially when, just the day before, she had explicitly changed his Tuesday schedule to 12:30 to accommodate his childcare emergency.
Right, the 0900 to 1100 window literally applies to a time she had officially told him to be at home.
So to understand how a discrepancy this massive occurs, you really have to look at how institutional memory is formed.
Yeah, when a commander decides to initiate a removal, the administrative system requires a specific justification, a data point to plug into the form.
And the 0900 to 1100 window was his schedule for the rest of the week, according to the Monday texts.
Exactly. The disciplinary machinery grabs that standard window, plugs it into an AWOL charge for Tuesday, and completely ignores the manual override the commander authorized in her private text messages.
The paperwork serves the institution's goal of removing the soldier, while the texts reflect the messy, actual reality.
It is staggering when you put the pixels next to the paper.
So, Michaels arrives at the shipyard clinic, obeying his new orders. He isn't able to see Major Tidd, but he does see another doctor, Dr. Julie Z. Barnett.
And she writes him a handwritten medical memorandum regarding his blood pressure.
Michael snaps a photo of this note, texts it to Major Hanson, and once again documents his total submission to command.
He writes, "Please let me know how you wish for me to proceed, and I will comply in whatever way I need to, ma'am."
He is building an airtight digital defense in real time, even if he doesn't fully realize it yet.
He really is. And Major Hanson responds by setting a new operational directive.
She acknowledges the clinic note, and she acknowledges his upcoming medical appointments for Wednesday.
Then she types, "Thursday at 0900 will be your next report time."
Thursday at 0900 will be your next report time. That is a definitive, unambiguous order setting his next shift.
Which raises an important question.
Yeah.
How does a commander engage in a 2-day, highly detailed text negotiation regarding child abuse investigations, traumatic brain injuries, and organ failure risks, issue a direct order setting a soldier's next report time for Thursday month,
and then sit down 9 days later to sign a memo claiming that same soldier was AWOL on Tuesday morning?
It defies all logic.
Until you realize the paperwork isn't meant to reflect the truth, it's meant to enforce an outcome.
Right, and we need to look at how Michaels handles that outcome, because he refuses to be crushed by the algorithm.
He is assigned a military defense counsel, a lawyer he calls Andrew in the article.
And there's a dark irony here, you know? The attorney assigned to save Michaels' career is employed by the exact same massive bureaucracy that is trying to end it.
Yeah, but the internal mechanisms of justice within these institutions, they sometimes work when confronted with undeniable proof.
According to Michaels, Andrew is a seasoned military defense attorney. He has worked cases across the Northeast. He's dealt with command structures in D.C.
He knows how the bureaucratic machine operates.
Exactly. And when Andrew looks at the UCMJ memo side by side with the text message screenshots, Michaels claims the lawyer admits he had never seen anything quite like this in his decades of practice.
That reaction from the lawyer is the most telling part of this entire deep dive.
It really is.
You have a legal system built entirely on the presumption that official institutional paperwork is the paramount truth.
So when a seasoned military lawyer is shocked by the discrepancy, it reveals just how rare it is for an individual to possess the exact contemporaneous digital proof needed to jam the gears of a false institutional narrative.
Casual text messages are essentially invisible to the administrative algorithm until a human lawyer forcibly injects them into the process.
And in this case, injecting those pixels into the process saves the soldier.
Michaels uses this digital trail to fight the charges.
The system allegedly escalated to trying to hand him an other than honorable discharge, which is incredibly damaging.
But the texts hold the line. He successfully secures an honorable discharge.
We have to remember what was actually saved here, too. This wasn't just a brief stint in the military.
No, Michaels had a 12-year career, a career where he graduated at the top of his military courses.
He had previously received a Coin of Excellence from General Joseph Lengyel for his role in helping save lives.
The institutional machinery tried to erase all of that and brand him as a rogue absentee. The timestamp saved his legacy.
So what does this all mean in the end?
Well, for Ryan Michaels, it obviously meant preserving his reputation and his hard-earned benefits.
But he makes it very clear in his writing that he doesn't view this as an isolated military story.
Right. He views his experience at Pease Air National Guard as sort of the first falling domino.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Michaels took the profound psychological lesson of surviving an institutional narrative and turned it into a broader philosophy.
He goes on to found the Maine Mirror, which is the very publication where we found this article.
And his stated mission is to expose what he alleges are similar bureaucratic failures, siloed information, and false narratives operating in civilian systems.
Specifically targeting the Maine Department of Health and Human Services and the family court systems.
He applies the framework of his military defense to civilian journalism.
He essentially weaponizes the concept of the digital receipt.
He actually writes in the article, "Truth should not depend on who is being questioned, and accountability should never stop where authority begins."
And this is where the mechanics of Michael's story intersect directly with you, the listener.
You don't have to be in the military to be subjected to a flawed institutional memory.
Whether you work in a corporate headquarters, a university system, a hospital, or a local government agency, large structured entities operate on the same basic principles.
They process paperwork. They rely on forms and memos that can easily be stripped of vital context.
Or influenced by a manager's bias, or simply fabricated to achieve an administrative goal.
Knowledge and truth are incredibly fragile unless they are documented.
The unalterable timestamps on a casual text thread saved a 12-year career from being destroyed by official letterhead.
It completely flips our understanding of what constitutes a formal record.
We are conditioned to panic over the official performance review, the disciplinary form, the signed memo.
We think those are the anchors of our professional reality.
But when the bureaucratic gears started grinding Michaels down, the pristine ledger meant absolutely nothing. The messy, everyday texts were the ultimate truth.
They were the only pieces of evidence that the institution couldn't retroactively rewrite to suit its needs.
We started our mission today exploring that collision.
We've traced how a damning official UCMJ memo, one that legally declared a soldier AWOL and attempted to strip him of his livelihood, completely unraveled.
Unraveled the second it was forced to share a room with the real-time digital paper trail. It proves that transparency isn't just a buzzword. It is a vital defensive shield.
It also leaves us with a profound shift in how we view modern communication.
Right, we constantly hear that digital communication, like texts, instant messages, quick emails, are eroding formal workplace procedures.
We treat them as sloppy, informal background noise.
But in an era dominated by massive, inflexible bureaucracies that can alter a narrative with a single memo, is the casual text message actually evolving into our ultimate safeguard?
It captures the messy, undeniable reality of a moment before the institution has a chance to sanitize it.
So I will leave you with this. What digital receipts are sitting in your phone right now, silently preserving a truth that might completely contradict an official institutional narrative tomorrow?
Keep those receipts backed up.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.